Welcome back to the channel, folks. We're glad to have you for this one. This is a situation that is developing. I think the story actually goes back to last month, but it's been kind of brewing, and I haven't really tracked it because I didn't think it was that big of a deal. Sometimes you just kind of see these things fizzle out, and then two sides kind of come together and reach agreements and whatever. But this one, I guess it seems to be kind of spilling over. So there's an issue between Verizon and I guess we'll call it like a rural internet provider group. The Rural Wireless Association is the actual group. They've got lawyers that are seeking to kind of oversee and review contract negotiations between Verizon and Mediacom. Mediacom, I think, is trying to be like an MVNO of Verizon, so getting access to the Verizon Wireless Network and then reselling it, like you guys see with like Comcast Xfinity Mobile and Charter Spectrum Mobile and those kind of things. But these lawyers want to have, I guess, insight and review of the negotiations of the agreement potentially, and they want access to these things, and Verizon is saying no. They don't want them to have access. I think what this boils down to is Verizon wants to be able to have control of their situations when it comes to negotiations. So Verizon's basically saying, well, this sets a precedent, and then in the future, all of this continues to hinder what Verizon is able to do, right, when it comes to negotiations. Now, I don't blame Mediacom for trying to get good deals, because that's really what this boils down to, right? They're trying to negotiate the best deal possible, and maybe these same lawyers have had access to deal structures in the past with Verizon or something like that. I'm not sure, or whatever the case may be. But that's what I think is happening here. I think Verizon, this is kind of sort of like a trade secret in a way, right? The negotiations want to be behind closed doors. They want to be specific within the two entities, Verizon and Mediacom. They don't want it to spill over into future deals with other companies that could potentially harm them in their negotiations. And it's really about bargaining position is the way that I see it. So that's why Verizon wants things confidential. That's why they don't want them involved. But now it's getting the FCC involved, right? And that's where things get kind of messy too. So how much of this needs to be confidential? How much of it should be accessible to lawyers? How do they set up these wholesale agreements? Past, present, future. You think about precedents and all of those kind of things. All I know is that the Rural Wireless Association wrote the letter to the FCC requesting for all of these things to become part of the proceedings. And look, I don't know if this means like this thing is going to end and it's going to be terminated, and maybe Verizon says no go and they've got to figure something else out. I know Verizon likes doing business with other companies to sell their network. I know that's a fact, clearly. But it looks like they want it on their terms. And I think Verizon is very private when it comes to their wholesale agreements. I think they are. You never hear about their margins. You never hear about their profitability and their revenue streams. They don't disclose it. They speak very generically and very broad and unspecific about their deals with big cable. And I think that's all part of this. Anyways, let me know what you guys think about this. What's your stance? How do you see Verizon in this? How do you see, how do you see this playing out? You think Verizon has a right to kind of keep these things behind closed doors, or do you think that, if Mediacom wants to negotiate and get lawyers involved in the review process, they should be able to? How do you think the FCC should get involved, if they should or not? Let me know. Drop me a comment. Like, share, subscribe. Check out some more videos. We'll see you guys soon on the next one.